What's up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. If you are a returning sub, but if this is your first time joining me on today, here we use information from celestial bodies to help us gain a better understanding of our favorite celebrities, world events, but most importantly, our damn selves. So come on in, thumbs up this video, sub to become a part of the Astro fam, and sit your ass down because you're going to be here for a minute. But today, I'm coming to y'all with a celebrity natal chart reading, this time on none other than Jakes. So as I'm sure everybody knows, TD Jakes, he's been going viral. He's been trending lately due to rumors and allegations, of him participating in Diddy's fuck-offs. That's what they say. They said he was the main one, front center in attendance, throwing that thing in circles, bouncing it up and down, getting piped out. In fact, they called him a power bottom, okay? So yeah, and of course, because he is a mega church leader, TD Jakes definitely has a lot of influence and a lot of followers, a lot of, the members of his church and people who really uphold him as a religious, spiritual leader. People are very defensive about it. And today I wanted to take a look at Mr. TD Jakes' natal chart just to see if he has any indicators that could substantiate any of these allegations. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So TD Jakes was born June 9th, 1957 in South Charleston, West Virginia. He is a Southern man, okay? One of the first things that stood out to me being his birth number. He's a birth number 9. And some key characteristics associated with the number 9 would be authoritativeness or a sense of boldness. These people are direct. These people are original. They can be very ingenuitive, if that's a word. All right. People who could pioneer certain fields. They could be excellent leaders, competitive, but also they have a sense of animalistic. They're very animalistic in nature. So that could even bleed over towards being sexual, hypersexual, really mannish, if you will, but also even selfish, aggressive, pushy, conflict-driven, violent, right? So as it pertains to the allegations at hand, just with the number 9 alone being TD Jakes' birth number, I could see him being a lot more sexually inclined, if that's something that he's into. I could see it expressing like that for him because the number 9 can be very hypersexual as well. TD Jakes has his son at the 18th degree of Gemini, and the number 18, as outlined in Chaldean numerology, can be a very volatile number, but it could also be a hypersexual number. And that's because the number 18, when you add it together, technically reduces to 9. Mind you, let's refer back to him also being a number 9 birth number. You see where we're going with this? So hypersexual, 18 can even have like a masochistic kind of streak to it. Or, these are people who could be into like domination and like if you really want to get kinky, these are some of the kinkiest people in the bunch, but they can also just be very sadistic too. So things that could involve, even in some cases, like humiliation or degrading, even rituals and stuff like that, that could also tie into the number 18 very heavily. Now, with him being a Gemini, the higher octave of Gemini, especially at the 18th degree, could be a master orator, if you will. A person who is really gifted in the realm of being able to communicatively express themselves. People with the gift of gab, very cunning, very charming, very witty. And even though he's a pastor, this placement of Sun at the 18th degree of Gemini really does help him do his job to the magnitude in which he's been able to do his job, because you can feel however you want to feel about him personally, but I mean, he's been on that. And so these are also people who have to find multiple ways to express themselves. In this case, this could be with him also having written a bunch of very successful books. My mother used to buy his books, okay? So, like, I grew up seeing his stuff all around the house. So, he had books. That's also very Gemini. Geminis could be readers, writers, all across the spectrum. And it boils back down to that Mercury influence because Mercury rules communication. Okay. So, that's good too, right? But on the other hand, Gemini holds room to be very duplicitous. It's very duplicit in nature. And a lot of Geminis have this ability to bounce back and forth between genders. Gemini carries this very androgynistic energy or androgynous energy to it. And you see this in examples of a lot of different celebrities who seemingly have, especially in men, very feminine leaning tendencies, or they can. All right. Gemini also rules curiosity. But some famous examples of this would be Andre 3000 when he wears his little kilt, or he's worn kilts before, or people would, look at his choices as questionable. Prince, I mean, that speaks for itself. So a lot of Geminis have this fluidity, and it's said that usually the twins that are represented by, or that are symbolized by Gemini, one twin could be a woman and the other twin could be a male, which is why a lot of times these people are able to kind of hop back and forth between the energies, feminine and masculine. They hold room for that so well because they're naturally built for duplicit contact. And what does this mean for TD Jakes? It just means I could see his sexuality, especially with the Sun at the 18th degree of Gemini. I could see his sexuality being something where it could come into question, where he could be bisexual leaning, speculatively, all right, or at least experimental at the best. I could just see it. It makes sense. Now, there's something in TD Jake's chart that I really wanted, that I feel is going to be the crux of the experience that he's having now. And that's going to be his Thor's hammer. So he has the aspect pattern Thor's hammer, which include his moon in North Node in Scorpio, that Chiron in the or at the 17th degree of Aquarius. And then they're all like sesqui-squaring Venus, which is the apex planet, at the 3rd degree of Cancer. Now, what does this mean? So a Thor's hammer in astrology is an aspect pattern that consists of one square, two sesqui-squares, and often will manifest in a person who is going to be very stubborn, resistant to change, and honestly, a person who can undergo a lot of stress. But 9 times out of 10, this is stress that these people bring on themselves due to behavior patterns. They can be very rebellious, or people who are just very willful and very obstructive in nature. They have a very obstructive kind of energy about themselves. So they kind of create a lot of the issues that they have in their own lives. And the fact that this is in a fixed, this Thor's hammer is in a fixed sign, right? These are all fixed signs involved. Really is a testament to just how people in their patterns, this is a person who is not very likely to change a lot of their hardcore patterns and behaviors. So if it's a situation where you have a bunch of people speaking on their experiences with these individuals, I would be more inclined to believe them. I would be more inclined to believe that if this person treated you this way at one point in their life, they're probably still like that now. Or if you had that particular experience with that person, not much about them has changed. Or there could be some truth to it. So I thought that was really interesting. But if we get into the actual aspects that make up this Thor's hammer, first of all, TD Jakes has that Scorpio North Node and Moon conjunction, which could deal with him, once again, being very prominent. But it could, Scorpio is one of those signs that if we're teetering on the dark side of it, can deal with, first of all, occult groups. Occultism is a thing. Secret societies, or doing things that are, very taboo, being involved in criminal organizations, but also having a lot like strong sex drive, or, something about, being very sexual, right? Indulging, and even in some cases being sexual deviants coming into the play for some, because this Scorpio North Node can be just as bad as Scorpio on the South Node. A person who can have a lot of even sex demons attached to them, or find themselves operating in situations that facilitate that. And once again, if this man, to each his own, if everybody is grown and consenting, but if we're just sticking to the astrology of it, I could see him being a part of some other type shit. Now, the fact that this Moon and North Node square his Aquarius Chiron could definitely speak to there being not only some same-sex activity going on, if we're talking sexually, but once again, the theme of perversion comes to play. And, the Moon deals with your private life. So you could look at this as where, like, behind closed doors, a person could really be into some shit. They could really be into some other type shit. Aquarius rules groups. So you could even look at this as like group sex. And I'm wondering if the sesqui squares that these are forming to that Venus and Cancer could deal with, where either there could be people, like maybe even women, or people who he's gotten too comfortable with, who turn around and put him on blast, or lash out at him. Because, people with Thor's hammer do receive a lot of criticism from other people. They can irritate and agitate people a lot. Like, he can have I can see TD Jakes having a lot of enemies, or pissing people off. Even with that Scorpio North Node, for a lot of Scorpio North Nodes, you're going to receive a lot of hate. Sometimes these are people who, can pose themselves as the villains. They can be easy to hate, but they receive a lot of hate nonetheless. Okay. So it's, interesting. And then the fact that, he has his Venus in Cancer, I feel like, I could see him being the power bottom in the equation. That Venus in Cancer is very, very feminine. It's receptive. Now, his Venus is also trining his Neptune, and this will help take the edge off for him. So in the event that he does piss people off, or he does encounter issues where, shocking situations about his private life are coming to the public and coming to the forefront, which is also symbolized in that Thor's hammer, the trine that his Neptune and Scorpio is forming with his Venus and Cancer helps protect him or insulate him in a way, because you're going to have a lot of women who are protecting him. This could deal with his wife, his family, the people who are close to him, still being very protective of him. He's a part of that Pluto Leo generation, aka baby boomers. I'm like, this nigga's a baby boomer. But his Pluto is sextiling Neptune in Scorpio at the 0 degree. And that also insulates him a lot. This could also be a huge aspect that really works in his favor in terms of him being this celebrity. Almost, it's like these pastors are celebrities. They're like these celebrity spiritual figures, that's very symbolic of Pluto and Leo, sextile and Neptune and Scorpio. And where that kind of gives him this kind of almost God status, king status, but it's like protection. It's a higher level of protection. Now, with his Mercury at the 25th degree of Taurus, squaring his Pluto at that 28th degree of Leo, that could point to where he actually can abuse this power through mind control of other people, where he's really good at that. And where it's just going to be really hard to turn a lot of people against him. Someone who can have such a cult following, even taking it back to that Scorpio moon, Scorpio North Node conjunction. Yes, you can generate a lot of hate, but you're going to generate a lot of people who support you really no matter what it is you do. And shout out to Rabina, that Taurus South Node even could kind of more or less create this kind of cult leader kind of mentality. All right. She always refers to Taurus as being the cult leader. And I actually can see that, especially in situations like this. So it's going to be really hard. I think he's going to be a hard person to beat. Now, something else I wanted to point out. TD Jakes has his Mars at the 22nd degree of Cancer. This could actually be a very feminine placement, especially for a man. It could give a man a lot of feminine software programming. Now, they don't have to be, externally feminine or anything like that, unless something else in the chart would suggest that. But even subconsciously, these are men who they're run and driven by that energy. But Mars and Cancer could also produce same-sex attraction. And once again, with him having Scorpio on the North Node, the moon in Scorpio, there could be, a kind of tendency to be enamored with feminine energy. Now, another way that this you could look at this is him being a womanizer too. I'm not taking that off the table either. Him really having his way with women, or and honestly, once again, because Gemini can't even rule bisexuality, who's to say it may not be a little this and a little that? People exist on a spectrum. Many different spectrums. You don't know what people are into. Now, I did hear some rumors about him with underage boys, but, that could also even be summed up with that Aquarius, that Chiron in Aquarius, all right, squaring his Scorpio North Node, or where he could be around a lot of groups, different groups in society that are into a lot of dark stuff, y'all. I'm not even going to hold you. He has his sun squaring Jupiter. That could also be him being put on blast. Jupiter in Virgo. This could be being put on blast even by the boys, that he's groomed allegedly, or people alleging him to have groomed them. And because Gemini rules school age, this could be like high school. The number 18 could be significant. So maybe he's dealt with a dude that was like 18 before. And all of this is just, allegedly, but, it's just interesting. Very interesting. TD Jakes also has that Uranus in Leo, which could also be kind of questionable because it's also squaring his Neptune in Scorpio. So, stuff with younger, Leo rules youth. It rules children. That could be, I'm not gonna lie, y'all. I'm gonna keep it cute because I'm putting this on YouTube. I'm gonna let y'all connect the dots how y'all want to. This is speculatively just based on what I see in his chart. You can believe it or you cannot. You can believe it or you cannot. It's totally up to you. Same thing with that Mercury square Pluto. That could also deal with a person who just has a very lowbrow mindset, or who can be into some very, Pluto rules things that are forbidden, So does Scorpio. So people doing shit that they ain't got no business doing. And where their minds are naturally kind of prone towards that. So I see where TD Jakes can actually have some really, really dark-sided tendencies, or like the tendency to indulge in a lot of really low-level stuff. It just is what it is. I'm going to end the video on this note because, I mean, there's a lot that you could say, but I think we already get the picture here. Okay. So with that being said, drop down in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think about the placements in TD Jake's chart. Okay. How do y'all feel about this whole situation? And yeah, do you have any experience with these placements yourself, or do you know anyone who does? Y'all make sure take care of yourself. Happy New Year. And I will catch y'all in the next video. Bye.